Hi guys, Jasmine here. In this video I'm going to be talking to you about the differences between a counselor and a social worker. This is a question that one of my subscribers left on a previous video, and I thought I would make it because I think this is a question that tends to come up for most people, especially when they're exploring, which field to get into and stuff like that. So I thought in this video it would be beneficial to talk to you about it. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm a practicing social worker and I share my experiences here on the channel, both social work and non-social work related. Go ahead and subscribe if you're interested. Okay, let's get right into it. Okay, so it makes sense that, people become curious about the differences between a counselor and a social worker because there is a lot of overlap that happens in those professions, and it's the same principles that underpins both professions as well. And a lot of social workers will have elements of counseling in their work and vice versa. So it makes sense that, there'll be some confusion around it. I think one of the main differences between a social worker and a counselor is counselors tend to work with a family or with a specific client through a specific issue, so mainly around like developing coping mechanisms, helping them through their emotions. So it's very specific things like, say, grief and loss, trauma, things like that, whereas social workers tend to help in a more holistic way. So they would help them navigate, the social systems around them. So they might do a bit of counseling, but there would be, say, advocacy, referrals, information provision, and things of the like. Another massive difference is like social workers help to prepare the community for the individual, where they make sure that the individual is aware of whatever services that are there, or will make sure that the individual is referred to those services before they're let into the community. But a counselor will work in the opposite way, where they'll prepare the individual for the community. So as I mentioned before, they help with like coping strategies, helping individuals work through their emotions and things like that before the individual is let into the community. Or if the individual is already in the community, then the counselor basically helps them to continue to remain in the community safely. Counselors also can help with, specific diagnosis of different mental health concerns. It could be depression, it could be anxiety, things like that. Counselors will specifically work through that with you. But on the part of the social worker, even though they might do some aspects of counseling, they will not necessarily work specifically with you to fix your anxiety or depression. They would ensure that there's other services that are supporting you so that the chances that the depression or the anxiety will recur is very minimal. Another point is social workers generally have a more in-depth understanding of an individual and their needs and the issues of systems and how they may be impacting on the individual, and that's why they're able to have a more holistic approach. But a counselor tends to focus on the mental health of the individual and all the other aspects they may refer out to a different service for. Specifically, the question that the subscriber asked me was more around like, advice given. Generally, counselors and social workers, they help individuals to get to a point where they can make their own decisions and decide what's best for them. So no counselor, in my experience, no counselor or social worker provides advice to anyone. They might have recommendations, but they will not say go and do this or go and do that. But they might say, okay, generally things like meditation or whatever tends to help with anxiety. It might be something you might want to try out, but they will not be like, okay, leave your partner because it's abusive to you, and that's the advice they're going to give to you. So generally, both counselors and social workers do not give advice, and that's a common denominator. I have had experiences where, clients have told me that their counselors had advised them to do certain things, and, that's, I guess, different practice for those counselors, but in my experience, counselors are not advice givers. And neither are social workers. One final point I would like to make is the term counselor can be used a little more loosely as well in comparison to social workers. I think, people like religious leaders, pastors, priests, and things like that, sometimes they tend to call themselves counselors because sometimes they're able to give, marital advice and other forms of advice to, say, members of the denomination. So they might call themselves counselors, even though they may not have an accredited degree or whatever to say that they're a qualified counselor. So that's another difference. I think as social work, I think you need to have gotten your degree in social work in order to be called a qualified social worker. So yeah, those were a couple of pointers that I had for you. If there's anything that I left out that you're aware of in your experience, definitely leave it in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and I guess I'll see you in my next one. Take care. Bye.